we're live.
Hello and welcome to another live demonstration. Today I want to look at the Cutalola DotsPen. I know I've done a demonstration on it before, but really excitingly there's 3 new colours. So there's the gold, silver and white. The gold and silver work perfectly well on the a white paper. The white not so much, but the white also has a good advantage. Say you've used the DotsPen to do the dots in black, you can use this as a corrector and go over and correct your dots with the white. But all of these colours work wonderfully on the black paper, so I want to show you. I don't know if you can see the shimmer you get from the gold and the silver. I'll see if I can tip. Is it working? Yeah. So there is a really nice pearlescent shimmer from the gold and the silver. So what I'll do is I'll do a demonstration and talk about the DotsPen at the same time, because it's quite a long process, and if I told you all about it now and then went on and demonstrated, it would go on for a little while. So 3 new colours in the DotsPen range. So what is the DotsPen? The Cutalola DotsPen is an electric dotting pen. It creates dots. I'm using it with the wire only because you have about 20 minutes on a charge, which I'll discuss and explain how that is actually a useful thing, because it means you walk away from your work. I've just plugged it in for a bit longer because I don't want it to die during this demonstration. So you can use it both ways. Easy to plug in, charge via a USB cable. I've already pre-filled these with silver and gold, and what I'll do at the end, I will show you how to load the pen with the white. Simple. It comes, everything you want comes in the tin. So you get your pen, you get black refills, you get your charging cable. You're ready to go. So to start, you press the button on the side. This takes it to slow mode. I don't like using the slow mode as much. I much prefer the fast mode. I like to feel the vibration. And when I say feel the vibration, I don't mean you can really feel it. It's actually you don't notice it after a little while. But I like to feel the kickback of the pen. It's just the way I like to use it. So while it's in slow mode, you double click that button, it takes it into fast mode. So now the pen will create dots. I'm not sure you can see it on there, but if you let your pen run, it will create a line of dots. So you can create wonderful swirls and lots of movement. There you go, you can see it here. But you can also use it, just being careful not to lean on the paper, because the ink will still be a little bit wet, and I have been known to smudge it. So I want to work over here. I'm going to take the risk. You can see how you can just build up your outline by just moving the pen. But first you need to feel how it works. So I tell people to hold it against the board, feel it kick back, and then you just move your hand. You don't have to put any pressure on at all. So I'm just going to build up areas. This is a wonderful dragon that my colleague Jackie took a photograph of while they were travelling through India and Tibet. I think this is Tibetan, but I think it just really offers itself to the DotsPen, especially in the gold and the silver. And I'm not going to be a total representation, because I'm going to add a few swirls of my own. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm looking at the light. The dark areas are already there. The black is dark. So I'm looking at building up a solid area. But I'm thinking about darks and lights as well. And I can always go back. What I do find is I tend to dot around as I think about and look back and see areas that may need working on. So the eye Just create that. And you can see how quickly I am creating that wonderful pointillism technique. Okay, so now I think there's some little swirls at the top. Let's bring those out. At the moment I'm not overly thinking about filling in the areas. I feel I can come back to that, but what I'm going to do is bring out the silver areas, or the lighter areas. It's not exactly the same as the image I've got in front of me, but this is where I can be creative. So thinking about dark areas, so I'm leaving some of the areas free, and then I'm going to work out, thinking the light will be hitting the top. I'm having to push the page down because it was starting to lift, and when it does that you're not getting a good kickback and it feels quite soft. I like to work on a really hard board because I like to feel the kickback from the pen. One warning I would say, and that we have to tell you, that if you've got a pacemaker, it's not suitable because it has a strong magnet inside, so it's not suitable for anyone with a pacemaker. And I have heard people ask about, you know, repetitive syndromes and things like that. I've used this day in for days and I've not had any problems at all. That's me. But if you have any risk of that, it has a 20-minute battery life. So what you can do after 20 minutes, once it starts to wear down, is you can put it down and walk away and come back to it at another time. It's not an overly fast process, but I think that's part of the, it's quite, I find it very addictive. You know, you keep going and you just, for me, it's not the type of work I normally do. I like to rush things, I like to get things done quickly. And I am working quite quickly with this. But for me, it's also slowed me down, and it's quite relaxing, to be honest. I like the feel of using the pen. What I like is to be able to do that lovely line you get in one go. So can you imagine hair and fur? You can just do lines like this and build it up. So because I'm working with a light colour, this is the silver, I am thinking about dark areas. What areas do I need to leave to ensure that there's some light and shade? So here. I don't know if I think it's ears actually. I was looking at it earlier and I think it's the ears of a dragon. So I think these are ears because there's some more come down here as well. Oh, that's what I think it is, so that's what it is now. And you can see how quickly I use that as an outline. And I'm not filling it all in because really handily the dark is already there. I'm being really careful to keep tonal values. And what I can do is I can go back in and I can add and build up and lighten. It might not be, once I've finished it, as tonally as in depth as I would normally do, but I haven't got a huge amount of time. So what I'll do is I'll do the silver, work on the silver areas. We'll have a short break and I'll come back and then I'll work on the gold and finish off with the white. But you can see how I use little circles here just to build up areas, and I do find, especially when I'm using the black, I like to go over the whole image and at least have some level of tonal value rather than working one bit at a time. But you can work whichever way you want. For me, I just like to get it all a layer on just to see where I can go from there. And for once I've remembered to work this way in. The reason is, I do know if I put my hand over it, it will smudge at the moment because it's quite wet. Another thing being asked about is the size of the nib. Now that's quite difficult to say because it depends on how much pressure you put on the pen. But the colours, so that's the silver, the gold, the white, including the other colours, the pink, the yellow and the blue, are all about a 0.8. But the black is about a 0.5. And you do notice that when you are working with the colours that you can smudge a little easier because you tend to put your hand on and you've not allowed it time to dry. So I have thought about it and I am working from one end to the other, which for me is quite unheard of. I forget and I like to drop around. So you can see there the areas I've left, I've still created that pattern and I'm just trying to strengthen the edges just to give it a much more solid feel. And here I've probably left a little bit too much. You can't see it so much in this light, but I know if it hits light you'll see the real shimmer of this silver. It's got a lovely shimmer. That's why this image just really lends itself to the colours that I'm using. Okay, so that will do for now. I can always go back and I can lighten and bring out shapes. I want to add some, I should have done this before, but okay. And you can see how quickly you can actually bring out the shapes. I think the tongue is golden, but just thinking about where I can just add some silver and then add the gold in other areas. So you've got a little cheek, I think it is, and you can see there I'm leaving areas just to give it a little bit more, because it is a 3D object and it is quite difficult to pick up on that. So he's got a collar on, so I think it is a dog of some sort or a dragon. So here I'm going to make this quite shiny, and underneath will be darker because the light is hitting from the top. Goes round. You do need a little bit of practice, just learning how to use it and how to create the shapes. I'm going to just do this in silver because I think it needs it. So that's me jumping around again. Do this bit in silver and then I can do it the rest in gold. Okay, so I'm just creating swirls really easily, to be honest. Like I say, I work quite quickly. Doesn't mean you have to be as quick as I am. I'm adding some extra swirls just because I feel it needs it. I'll add a little bit of shape. Okay, well, I'm going to think about this. I was going to say, I think that's it for the silver. Now I'll go back into using the gold, but I think I'm going to put this silver here. Little kind of whiskers or flames, I'm not sure. But you can see how quickly I am building up all these shapes. Okay, just give that an extra point in there. There we go. So for silver, I think that works okay. So to stop, I will double click, which takes it to slow mode, and one click for off. So what I can do is now I'll get the pen changed and work on the gold areas. So join us in a minute after the break and I will continue with the demonstration.
Let us bring out the artist in you. If you'd like to learn how to paint or improve your painting, the SAA is here to inform, encourage and inspire you every step of the way. When you become an SAA member, you get so many benefits, including the free bi-monthly newsletter Paint, packed with inspiring step-by-step projects, fascinating articles and detailed information to get your creative juices flowing. Discounts on over 13,000 art products featured on the SAA website and in the Home Shop catalogue, with free order line and free delivery in the UK mainland. A devoted SAA team on hand to answer your questions and give you the confidence and motivation you need to start painting and develop at a pace that suits you. Plus, a free welcome pack filled with gifts and practical help to get you started, as well as the opportunity to make friends with like-minded people.
Best thing of being a member is the inspiration from the magazines, to be able to purchase things at a very reasonable price.
Yeah, you get the reduction on all the materials, the advice you get.
I can shop from home.
It's a community.
It seemed like a very friendly sort of organisation.
If somebody's thinking of joining, don't spend too long thinking. Just join. They'll love it.
Hello and welcome back. So now I've had chance to walk away, because to be honest that's probably would have been the life of the battery if I hadn't had it on the continuous use. But what it does, it means you walk away, you come back, you look and review, and I'm always talking about how to walk away from something, and this it helps you, to be honest. So now I've got gold, so one click to take it in slow mode. This is probably the hardest bit of the pen. One click, two clicks, and it takes it to the fast mode, which for me, that's just personal. I like to use it like that. Now I can bring out and use the gold. What's restricted me a little is the wire. It felt a little tight, so I wasn't getting the full movement. You'll notice I hold it as much as I can, as upright as I can, because if you start to tip and drop yourself down like that, it does tend to slow down or even go off. It is designed to work very upright, and you get used to working upright, and I tend to use my middle finger to support the pen, especially for the long straight and the swirls. Like I say, you get used to holding it however you want. That's gold. So just fill out some of the, but not all of it. I want to keep some areas dark. And I'm going to mix some of the gold in with this silver as well. Let's bring out the shape. I'm shifting around. Right, let's just continue and work my way down so I don't risk putting my hand over and smudging. So you can see the difference between the silver and the gold just there. And like I said, I don't know if you can see on camera, but they really do have a lovely shimmer. And on the black, they work lovely. Like I say, I have done it on white before, but I think the most dramatic and the most effective way of using it is on black. So you can use the DotsPen on top of an ink, a watercolour. I would try it first. I would always test just to make sure that the ink will adhere to the surface you're using it for. Waterproof once dry. So the ink is waterproof once dry. Let it dry. Just make sure it has dried. So you can use with pen and wash. There's lots of opportunities to change the way you use the pen. So it's not just for creating something like this, which actually I think is very effective anyway, but you can add colour or use it as part of a coloured piece just to add some texture. Let's come back. What's happened is that's better. I've been told to watch my left hand, but I've got to hold the paper down. Also, I should have just kept one sheet. I do find using one sheet as opposed to a pad is a little easier. For me, that's just the way I like the feel of it. I like the real hard kickback you get from a solid board. And because the paper's waving a little, and it just feels like it's hitting air, which I suppose it is really, the air underneath. Okay, let's bring this back. So I'm just going to, I've lost the teeth here, so we're going to have to cold teeth. Okay, so now I'm just, because I'm swapping and changing, I'm not overly concerned where the gold is, where the silver is, because it's an image, yes, I can see the image, but when it's finished, people aren't going to see the picture, so they don't know what colour it was, what shape it really was, what detail it had in it. That's all up to me. What I put in, what I leave out. So I think actually in this picture, this tongue is actually quite gold, so I'm going to try and give that a really solid look. There we go. And then there's I think the mouth behind comes down like that, but I don't need to fill that in because I want it to stay black. I'm just making sure that the mouth is a continuous unit. What I might do with those teeth, I might come back in with the silver, but let's just keep going. So you can understand why I'm talking about the pen as we're doing the demo, because it is quite a long process. And so it's something to talk about, to be honest. Like I said, I've used this pen continuously for days at a time, to be honest, when I'm demonstrating it, and I've had no ill effects. It doesn't feel problematic to me, but if you do have concerns, it's not worth a risk, because it is a pen that is vibrating. Like I say, I can't feel it, but that's me. Good. So I think this is quite dark under here, so I'm going to be very light with my gold, just so it gives you a hint that there's some shadow. And you can see how the difference between a much stronger level, so more dots, more detail. And I do find when you are doing an area that needs more dots, instead of doing it all in one go, come back to it like I have. I think that really helps with your tonal values. Work around. Don't know if you can see there, I can still add some real strong gold. Have a look. I want to strengthen that a little bit more. Okay, move on. Right, gold under here, neck. So again, it's going to have some shadow, and you can see how quickly I can just skip and start to show that it has some colour, but it also has some shadow. Like I say, if I can come back to it, I can look, I can review, I can think that actually maybe some areas need a little bit more. So still with the gold, I'm going to go into the areas of the silver just to give a little bit more definition. And a little bit more colour. Just a hint. And I think that mix works really well. It just stops it being two very singular tones or colours. Just brings it all together a little bit more. What they're doing. And it just lightly, I'm not doing a huge amount. I think that's working. Okay. Let's just show you how easy it is to do some swirls. So just moving the pen around. So you can see how easy it is for decoration, for card making, for on top of a ink painting, just to add a different texture. And pointillism is a technique which many people use and spend hours and hours creating the dots. So it's not taking anything away from all that time, and you can continue doing it that way. I just think it's a really exciting tool to use, and it just gives you additional opportunities in the pointillism technique. So I'm just adding a bit of tone so it looks more solid. And again, I don't know if you think it is, but I think it's building up really quite quickly. Than it would do. Just think about doing every single dot. And not only that, I can actually do, I don't know if I'll be able to do it, I might do it to one side or when I use the white. You can do more marks than just a dot. You can let it skip. You can create lines. Just building up this bit, and then we can move on to the white. Just making sure that's touching the hair so they're not separate entities. So like I say, I'm doing this quite quickly. If I had a little more time, I would think about it a little bit more, add a little bit more tonal value. I think that's okay. So one last thing I'm just going to do is where I missed the teeth. I'm going to put them in because it's bugging me. So I missed these bottom teeth. But you can see how easy I can correct and go back into. Okay, now it's got teeth on the bottom. Okay, so like I say, I could keep fiddling. It's really easy to do. What I want to do is show you how to change a cartridge. So this had the silver in, and I want to change it. Oh no, it had white in. So I'll change it to silver. So changing it. This does come out, but ideally you don't want it to come out. So if you can hold it and remove just the cartridge. But the cartridge is really easy to change. Just slip it in and you're off again. Now, just check him. You do have to sometimes check that you've put it in correctly, which I don't know if I'm taking that out because it's twisting. You have to make sure that clicks back in place if it's come out and push in. You don't want to cross thread or tighten the barrel too much. Let's just see if that's working. Nope. What's happened is I pulled it out and the springs just flattened a little bit, so stop going off. That's another thing I did notice can happen. Once it's in the tin, you do have to be very careful how you lay it in. You need to make sure that button is put away in the tin, because if it's put away up there and you close the lid, it starts to go off and you can't always tell it's going off, and it will run the battery down. So you keep thinking the pen's not working, when actually the pen is working. It's just it's been going off. And the same happens when you put it down. You put it down, just you think you've finished, you put it down, or you've put it down while it's still active. It slows down and you can't really see it, but you can feel it still going. So again, it's using the battery. That's better. Okay, so now I've got the silver, which I thought I can't see here. So I've used white and gold there, and now I'm just going to use some silver to bring out some background colours. I'm just using swirls, just bringing it behind the dragon, just want to show you how you can make these lovely swirls, and I'll probably show you how to make some skip marks as well. This is going to be quite quick. Create patterns and swirls just to add to the texture of the lovely. So you can imagine what patterns you can make. It's all part of the so you can see those patterns there are now being incorporated into the background. And I'm not going to do too much. So when I said skipping, you can actually see here how you can skip and create. I was using it for grasses, and see those skipping marks you can make just there. That's just with a little extra pressure. So I was using it in a reed bed. So it's more than just the dots. I don't think I need to, because I use white in here, I'm going to just see if I can put a little bit of shimmer in some areas. The white and the silver look very similar, so you're probably not going to see a huge difference. But because I've used the silver in the background, I want to just bring some of the silver into the dragon itself, just so it kind of is all, it harmonises with each other. We'll add a little bit more shimmer. I actually quite like that I've used the white instead of the silver on here, because it's much stronger than the silver. Again, just adding a little bit of silver here and there. Okay, because I can keep going for ages with that, and I need to stop. So while it's in fast mode, double click to send it to slow mode, and one click to switch it off. And remember, I always check by just holding it that it has gone off. So I hope you enjoyed that. So those exciting new colours in the DotsPen, I'm really excited about. I think they're lovely. Including the DotsPen itself, which I think is a wonderful tool, and it's something new and something different, and you can create some lovely techniques and use it in lots of different mediums. So actually join us tomorrow for a live workshop with Hashim Akib, and that's going to be really exciting because I know he's doing a lion. So join us tomorrow.